A neurosurgeon in Australia has removed a worm found alive in a woman's brain.
Doctors in India found 14 roundworms wriggling in a woman's bile duct.
Something is feeding, growing, and spreading inside its host, often unnoticed until it's too late. Some parasites burrow beneath the skin, others invade the brain, and the most terrifying of all can manipulate human behavior. These aren't just infections, they are living nightmares. Here are the 16 most disturbing parasites ever found inside humans. Number 16. The buzzing menace, Botflies. Imagine a bumblebee-like creature with a sinister agenda, lurking in the shadows and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Meet the botfly, a parasite that has mastered the art of using other insects as its personal Trojan horses. These cunning flies lay their eggs on the bodies of mosquitoes, transforming them into unwitting accomplices in their parasitic plot. As the mosquito feeds on its mammalian host, the botfly eggs sense the warmth of the body and hatch, seizing the opportunity to infiltrate the unsuspecting victim's skin. Once inside, the botfly larvae burrow deep into the flesh, armed with tiny spines that make them nearly impossible to remove. These spines act as anchors, ensuring that the larvae remain firmly embedded in their host, feeding and growing for weeks or even months. The presence of botfly larvae can cause intense discomfort, inflammation, and even secondary infections if left untreated. Prevention is key when it comes to avoiding these buzzing menaces. Insect repellent and protective clothing can help keep mosquitoes at bay, reducing the risk of becoming an unwitting host to these parasitic stowaways. In areas where botflies are prevalent, vigilance and awareness are essential to avoid falling victim to their deceptive tactics. Number 15. The brain invader, Naegleria fowleri. Imagine diving into a crystal-clear lake on a scorching summer day, seeking respite from the oppressive heat. Little do you know, a microscopic menace lurks in the seemingly pristine waters, waiting for the perfect moment to launch a devastating attack on your brain. This is the chilling reality of Naegleria fowleri, a free-living amoeba that has earned the infamous moniker, the brain-eating amoeba. Naegleria fowleri, found in warm freshwater bodies such as lakes, rivers, and hot springs, is a rare but highly lethal parasite. When contaminated water enters the human nose, the amoeba can make its way up the olfactory nerve, crossing the cribriform plate and infiltrating the brain. Once inside, Naegleria fowleri begins to feed on brain tissue, causing a rapidly progressing and almost always fatal infection known as primary amoebic meningoencephalitis (PAM). The symptoms of PAM are initially mild, mimicking those of a common cold or flu. However, within days, the infection takes a terrifying turn. Patients may experience severe headaches, high fever, stiff neck, seizures, and hallucinations as the amoeba continues to consume brain tissue. In most cases, death occurs within a week of exposure, with a fatality rate exceeding a staggering 97%. The speed and severity of the infection leave little time for diagnosis and treatment, making prevention paramount. To minimize the risk of contracting this brain-invading parasite, it is crucial to take precautions when engaging in water activities. Avoiding water entering the nose by using nose clips or holding the nose shut when jumping or diving into freshwater bodies can help prevent Naegleria fowleri from gaining access to the brain. Also, refraining from stirring up sediment in shallow, warm waters can reduce the likelihood of encountering this deadly amoeba. Number 14. The silent invader, Schistosoma hematobium. Schistosomiasis, a disease caused by the parasitic worm. Schistosoma hematobium holds the dubious distinction of being the most common parasitic infection in humans. This microscopic menace, also known as the urinary blood fluke, has a particular affinity for the human urinary tract, where it sets up shop and begins its insidious work. As the parasite's eggs become lodged in the delicate tissues of the urinary tract, they trigger a cascade of inflammation and damage. Over time, this sustained assault on the body's organs can lead to devastating consequences, including organ failure and even bladder cancer. In fact, schistosomiasis ranks as the second leading cause of this deadly form of cancer worldwide. To combat this silent invader, proper wastewater treatment and water purification are essential. By breaking the parasite's life cycle and preventing its eggs from contaminating water sources, we can reduce the risk of infection and safeguard communities from the ravages of schistosomiasis. Awareness, education, and improved sanitation infrastructure are key weapons in the ongoing battle against this pervasive parasitic threat. Number 13. The nocturnal bloodsuckers, bedbugs. Picture this. You're sound asleep, blissfully unaware of the tiny oval-shaped creatures that have silently infiltrated your bed. Bedbugs, small and brownish in color, are the ultimate nocturnal bloodsuckers.
One of nature's most perfectly evolved human blood-sucking machines. And if a couple of these get into your home, you're gonna know all about it.
These resilient pests have adapted to thrive in human environments, feeding exclusively on the blood of their slumbering hosts. Bedbugs are masters of stealth, emerging from their hiding spots in the depths of night to feast on unsuspecting sleepers. With each bite, they inject a small amount of saliva containing an anesthetic, numbing the area and allowing them to feed undetected. As they gorge themselves on human blood, bedbugs can cause itchy, red welts and allergic reactions in some individuals. Under ideal conditions, bedbugs can develop from egg to adult in just 1 month, rapidly multiplying and infesting entire households. A single female bedbug can lay hundreds of eggs in her lifetime, creating a burgeoning army of bloodsuckers that can quickly overwhelm even the cleanest of homes. Vigilance, early detection, and professional pest control interventions are crucial in the battle against these persistent and challenging pests. Number 12. The intestinal invaders, hookworms. Deep within the human gut, an insidious parasite lurks, silently siphoning the lifeblood of its unsuspecting host. Hookworms, parasitic sucking roundworms, have made the small intestines of humans their primary residence. These microscopic invaders gain entry into the body through a shocking route, the soles of the feet. Hookworm larvae, hidden in soil contaminated by fecal matter, penetrate the skin when humans walk barefoot on infected ground.
Are you ever going to run on the beach in your bare feet again?
Oh gosh, no.
Never.
No, not even walk.
I've already been
It's
Googling
done.
water shoes for my next trip.
Once inside, they embark on a treacherous journey through the body, ultimately reaching the small intestine where they mature into adult worms. There, they latch onto the intestinal wall with their razor-sharp teeth, feasting on the host's blood and nutrients. The impact of hookworm infections is staggering, affecting an estimated 576 to 740 million people worldwide. The consequences of untreated hookworm infestations can be severe, leading to anemia, malnutrition, and impaired cognitive development in children. Combating these intestinal invaders requires a multifaceted approach, including improved sanitation, education on proper hygiene practices, and access to effective deworming medications. Number 11. The Wandering Eyeworm, Loa. Imagine a worm, thread-like and slender, slowly navigating its way through the delicate tissues of the human eye. This is the reality for those afflicted with Loa, a parasitic worm that has earned the chilling moniker, the eyeworm. Transmitted by the bite of certain flies found in West and Central Africa, Loa embarks on a disturbing journey within its human host. Once inside the body, these worms wander through the subcutaneous tissues, occasionally making their presence known as they pass across the surface of the eye. The sensation of a worm writhing beneath the skin or across the eyeball is a nightmarish experience for those unfortunate enough to harbor these unwanted guests. Loa infections can cause a range of symptoms, from mild itching and swelling to more severe complications such as intense inflammation and even damage to the eyes. Perhaps most unsettling is the longevity of these parasites. Loa can persist within the human body for up to 17 years. Treatment typically involves the use of antiparasitic medications, but the psychological toll of knowing that a worm may be lurking just beneath the surface of one's skin is a burden that can last long after the parasite has been eliminated. Number 10. The pork peril, Tenia solium. In the realm of culinary delights, few things compare to the savory flavor and crispy texture of perfectly cooked pork. However, lurking within undercooked or raw pork lies a hidden danger: Tenia solium, commonly known as the pork tapeworm. This parasitic flatworm has the potential to cause severe health consequences in those who unknowingly consume it. When pork infected with Tenia solium larvae is ingested, the larvae can migrate from the intestines to various tissues throughout the body, including the muscles and even the brain. In the muscles, the larvae form cysts, leading to a condition called cysticercosis. These cysts can cause pain, weakness, and visible lumps under the skin. However, it is when the larvae invade the brain that the true horror of Tenia solium infection becomes apparent. Neurocysticercosis, the most severe form of cysticercosis, occurs when Tenia solium larvae penetrate the central nervous system. Once in the brain, the larvae can trigger a cascade of neurological symptoms, including debilitating headaches, seizures, and in some cases, even blindness. The presence of these larvae in the brain can also lead to a potentially fatal condition known as hydrocephalus, where excess fluid builds up in the skull, putting pressure on the brain. Prevention is key when it comes to avoiding the pork peril. Ensuring that all pork products are thoroughly cooked to an internal temperature of 145 degrees Fahrenheit effectively kills any Tenia solium larvae that may be present. Additionally, practicing good hygiene, such as washing hands after handling raw pork and properly disposing of fecal matter, can help break the cycle of transmission. By being mindful of these precautions, we can safely enjoy the delights of pork without fear of falling victim to this insidious tapeworm. Number 9. The Malaria Mimicsia, Babesia. In the world of parasitic infections, there exists a stealthy invader that often goes unnoticed, masquerading as a more well-known adversary. Babesia, a genus of microscopic parasites, finds its way into the human bloodstream through the bite of an infected tick. Once inside, these cunning microbes set their sights on the body's red blood cells, invading and multiplying within these vital oxygen-carrying vessels. The symptoms of babesiosis, the disease caused by Babesia parasites, can closely mimic those of malaria, making diagnosis a challenging task. Patients may experience fever, chills, fatigue, and anemia as the parasites continue to replicate and destroy red blood cells. For some individuals, particularly the elderly, infants, and those with weakened immune systems, the consequences of babesiosis can be severe, even life-threatening. Treatment for babesiosis often involves a combination of antiparasitic medications, such as antibiotics and antimalarials, to eradicate the infection. In severe cases, patients may require blood transfusions to replace the red blood cells ravaged by the parasites. Prevention lies in avoiding tick bites, particularly in areas where Babesia is known to thrive. Wearing protective clothing, using insect repellent, and performing thorough tick checks after spending time outdoors can help reduce the risk of falling victim to these malaria mimics. Number 8. The intestinal whipworms. Deep within the large intestine, a slender whip-like creature lies in wait, silently wreaking havoc on the body's digestive system. Whipworms, aptly named for their long, slender bodies that resemble tiny whips, are intestinal parasites that infect humans through a startling route: contaminated food and water. These parasitic worms begin their life cycle as microscopic eggs, which can persist in soil, water, or on the surface of vegetables for months or even years. When unsuspecting individuals consume food or water tainted with these eggs, the whipworms hatch within the small intestine and make their way to the large intestine, their final destination. Once settled in the large intestine, whipworms attach themselves to the mucous membrane, feeding on nutrients and causing a range of gastrointestinal disturbances. Symptoms of whipworm infection, known as trichuriasis, can include chronic diarrhea, abdominal pain, and in severe cases, rectal prolapse. Children are particularly vulnerable to the effects of whipworm infections, as heavy infestations can lead to malnutrition, growth retardation, and cognitive impairment. Prevention of whipworm infections relies heavily on access to clean water, proper sanitation, and good hygiene practices. Washing hands thoroughly, especially before handling food, and properly cleaning and cooking vegetables can help reduce the risk of ingesting whipworm eggs. In areas where whipworm infections are prevalent, periodic deworming campaigns and education on sanitation and hygiene are crucial in breaking the cycle of transmission and safeguarding communities from these intestinal whips. Number 7. The Sushi Surprise, Anisakis simplex. Picture this. You're savoring a delectable piece of sushi, relishing the delicate flavors of raw fish and perfectly seasoned rice. Little do you know, a hidden menace may be lurking within your meal. Anisakis simplex, also known as the herring worm, is a parasitic nematode that has a particular affinity for marine fish and squid, often finding its way onto the plates of unsuspecting sushi lovers. When consumed in its larval stage through undercooked or raw seafood, Anisakis simplex can cause a condition known as anisakiasis, or herring worm disease. Once inside the human body, these worms can attach themselves to the lining of the stomach or intestines, causing an array of unpleasant symptoms such as severe abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. In some cases, the worms can even trigger an allergic reaction, leading to anaphylaxis, a potentially life-threatening condition. To avoid falling victim to this sushi surprise, it is crucial to ensure that all seafood is properly cooked before consumption. Cooking not only enhances the flavor and texture of the fish, but also serves as a vital safeguard against parasitic stowaways like Anisakis simplex. While the thought of a wriggling worm in your sushi may be enough to make you swear off raw fish altogether, rest assured that with proper preparation and attention to food safety, you can still enjoy your favorite sushi rolls without fear of unwanted guests. Number 6. The Forgotten Plague, Guinea Worm. In the dusty, remote villages of sub-Saharan Africa, a long-forgotten plague has been silently tormenting communities for centuries. Guinea worm disease, also known as dracunculiasis, is a parasitic infection caused by the nematode Dracunculus medinensis. This disease, once widespread, has been pushed to the brink of eradication thanks to tireless efforts by health organizations and improved water sanitation practices. The guinea worm's life cycle begins in contaminated water sources, where unsuspecting individuals ingest the microscopic larvae while drinking. Once inside the human body, the larvae mature into adult worms, growing up to a staggering 31 inches in length. After a year of incubation, the female worm emerges from the host's body through an excruciatingly painful blister, usually on the lower limbs. The emergence of the worm is just the beginning of the ordeal for those afflicted. As the worm slowly inches its way out of the blister, it must be carefully extracted over the course of several weeks. During this time, the wound is susceptible to secondary bacterial infections, which can lead to severe complications and even permanent disability. The traditional method of extraction involves winding the worm around a small stick, a few centimeters each day, until the entire worm is removed. Thankfully, through the implementation of simple yet effective interventions, such as providing clean drinking water and educating communities about the importance of water filtration, guinea worm disease has been brought to the brink of extinction. In 2021, only 15 cases were reported worldwide, down from an estimated 3.5 million cases in the mid-1980s. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. Man thinks he has bedbugs. Experts look closer and scream by what they truly are. Ethan woke each morning to mysterious bites appearing on his body. Despite thorough cleaning and setting up cameras, the culprit remained invisible. Exterminators and dermatologists were equally baffled. As months passed, Ethan's life deteriorated. Sleep evaded him, replaced by constant itching and the eerie sensation of tiny movements across his skin. His salvation came through Dr. Ching, an entomologist who identified the true enemy, Triatoma infestans, nearly invisible blood-sucking parasites from South America that had infested his home. The bites were just symptoms of a greater threat. These insects carried Trypanosoma cruzi, the parasite causing potentially fatal Chagas disease, which could severely damage his heart and digestive system. Dr. Ching assembled specialists to wage war against the infestation. They sealed Ethan's bedroom, creating negative pressure to contain the parasites, then deployed strategic insecticides and heat treatments to penetrate every possible hiding place. The battle transformed Ethan's home into a clinical zone. Furniture removed, walls stripped bare, every surface treated meticulously. Medical tests fortunately showed Ethan hadn't contracted Chagas disease, but psychological scars lingered. For months, any itch triggered panic attacks. Through therapy and support, Ethan gradually recovered. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments. Number 5. The Flesh-Eating Fly, Cochleomya hominivorax. In the warm, humid regions of the Americas, a tiny winged terror lurks, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. Cochleomya hominivorax, more commonly known as the screwworm fly, is a parasitic insect with a gruesome reputation. Unlike most flies that feed on decaying matter, the screwworm fly has a much more sinister agenda. It seeks out open wounds on living creatures to lay its eggs, giving rise to flesh-eating larvae. The screwworm fly's modus operandi is as efficient as it is horrifying. Adult females, equipped with keen sensory organs, can detect the faintest scent of an open wound from miles away. Once a suitable host is found, the fly lays hundreds of eggs in and around the wound, setting the stage for a grisly infestation. Within a matter of hours, the eggs hatch, releasing a writhing mass of tiny larvae that immediately begin to feed on the living flesh of their host. As the larvae grow, they burrow deeper into the wound, secreting enzymes that break down the surrounding tissue, essentially digesting their host alive. The damage caused by these flesh-eating larvae can be extensive, leading to severe tissue destruction, secondary infections, and in some cases, even death. Livestock, wildlife, and pets are particularly vulnerable to screwworm infestations, with untreated cases often resulting in a swift and agonizing demise. Treatment for screwworm infestations involves a combination of surgical removal of the larvae and the administration of antibiotics to prevent secondary infections. However, the best defense against this flesh-eating fly is prevention. Promptly treating and covering any open wounds, no matter how small, can deter screwworm flies from laying their eggs. In regions where screwworm infestations are prevalent, the use of insecticides and the implementation of sterile insect technique CT programs have proven effective in reducing fly populations and minimizing the risk of this nightmarish affliction. Number 4. The Amazonian Nightmare, Canderu. In the murky depths of the Amazon River, a tiny terror swims, guided by an insatiable appetite for the most intimate of human orifices. The Canderu, a small parasitic catfish, has earned a reputation as one of the most feared creatures in the world of aquatic parasites. With a body rarely exceeding 6 inches in length, this diminutive fish packs a punch that belies its size, causing excruciating pain and unimaginable horror to those unfortunate enough to fall victim to its intrusion. The Canderu's modus operandi is as simple as it is shocking. It is attracted to the scent of human urine, following the trail of nitrogen-rich waste until it locates its unsuspecting host. Once in close proximity, this parasitic catfish employs an array of sharp, backward-facing spines to latch onto the delicate tissues of the penis or vagina, securing its position as it begins to feed on the host's blood and tissue. The pain associated with a Canderu invasion is said to be beyond description, as the fish's razor-like spines tear and shred the sensitive genital tissues with every movement. Removing a Canderu is no easy feat, often requiring surgical intervention to extract the deeply embedded parasite. The physical trauma inflicted by this tiny terror can lead to severe complications, including infection, scarring, and in some cases, even permanent damage to the genitals. The psychological scars left by a Canderu attack may linger long after the physical wounds have healed, serving as a haunting reminder of the horrors that lurk beneath the surface of the Amazon's waters. While the risk of a Canderu invasion is relatively low for most people, those who find themselves wading or swimming in the Amazon River are advised to exercise extreme caution. Wearing tight-fitting clothing or using a protective cup can help deter this parasitic catfish from making its way into the most intimate of areas. Number 3. The Sightless Scourge, Onchocerciasis. In the heart of Africa, a silent plague has been ravaging communities for generations, robbing people of their sight and leaving them to navigate a world of perpetual darkness. Onchocerciasis, more commonly known as river blindness, is a debilitating parasitic disease caused by the nematode worm Onchocerca volvulus. Transmitted through the repeated bites of infected blackflies, this insidious parasite has cast a shadow of suffering across the continent, affecting millions of lives and hindering economic development in endemic regions. The journey of Onchocerca volvulus begins when an infected blackfly, typically found near fast-flowing rivers and streams, delivers the microscopic larvae into the skin of its human host. These larvae mature into adult worms, forming nodules beneath the skin where they can live for up to 15 years, all the while releasing millions of microfilariae, their offspring, into the body. As these microfilariae migrate through the skin and eyes, they trigger an intense inflammatory response, leading to a cascade of symptoms that can ultimately result in irreversible blindness. The skin manifestations of onchocerciasis are no less distressing, as the incessant itching and disfiguring nodules can lead to severe dermatitis, depigmentation, and even elephantiasis of the genitals. The constant scratching and subsequent scarring can cause significant discomfort and social stigma, impacting the quality of life for those affected. The economic burden of river blindness is staggering, as the loss of sight and the inability to work perpetuates a cycle of poverty and dependency in already marginalized communities. Efforts to combat onchocerciasis have been ongoing for decades, with mass drug administration programs utilizing the medication ivermectin to interrupt the transmission of the parasite. These initiatives have made significant strides in reducing the prevalence of the disease, but the battle is far from over. Sustained commitment from governments, international organizations, and local communities is crucial in the fight against this sightless scourge, ensuring that future generations can live free from the shadow of river blindness. Number 2. The Nocturnal Invaders, Pinworms. As night falls and the world slumbers, an unseen invader emerges from the shadows, ready to embark on a journey that will leave its human hosts squirming in discomfort. Pinworms, tiny thread-like parasites barely visible to the naked eye, have made their home in the intestines of humans for millennia, causing an itchy and irritating affliction known as enterobiasis. These nocturnal invaders have a particular affinity for children, with an estimated 20% of kids in the United States falling victim to their microscopic march. The life cycle of the pinworm is a masterclass in parasitic adaptation. After mating within the confines of the human intestine, the female pinworm embarks on a perilous journey, typically at night, to lay her eggs around the unsuspecting host's anus. The presence of these eggs on the sensitive perianal skin triggers an intense itching sensation, driving the host to scratch the affected area. In doing so, the microscopic eggs find their way onto fingers, under nails, and eventually into the mouths of their human hosts, perpetuating the cycle of infection. The symptoms of pinworm infestation extend beyond the maddening itch, as the tiny invaders can cause a range of gastrointestinal disturbances. Painful bowel movements, abdominal discomfort, and even urinary tract infections in girls can all be attributed to the presence of these unwelcome guests. The nocturnal activity of the female pinworm can also lead to disrupted sleep, as the intense itching keeps the host tossing and turning throughout the night. Treatment for pinworm infections typically involves the use of antiparasitic medications, such as mebendazole or albendazole, which effectively eliminate the adult worms and their eggs. However, the ease with which pinworms can spread among family members and in close-knit communities means that a comprehensive approach to treatment and prevention is essential. Maintaining good hygiene practices, frequently washing bedding and clothing, and treating all household members simultaneously can help break the cycle of reinfection and banish these nocturnal invaders once and for all. Number 1. The lymphatic saboteurs, filarial worms. In the tropical and subtropical regions of the world, a stealthy assailant lurks within the bites of bloodthirsty mosquitoes, ready to unleash a lifetime of suffering upon its unsuspecting human hosts. Filarial worms, thread-like parasites barely visible to the naked eye, have evolved a complex relationship with their mosquito vectors, exploiting them as unwitting accomplices in their quest to infiltrate the human lymphatic system. Once inside, these microscopic saboteurs embark on a journey of destruction, causing a range of debilitating diseases that can rob people of their health, their dignity, and even their sight. The most notorious of these diseases is lymphatic filariasis, a condition characterized by the clogging and swelling of the lymphatic vessels. As the filarial worms take up residence in these vital channels, they disrupt the normal flow of lymphatic fluid, leading to a buildup of fluid in the tissues. Over time, this accumulation can result in the grotesque enlargement of body parts, most commonly the legs, in a condition known as elephantiasis. The physical disfigurement and disability caused by lymphatic filariasis can be profound, limiting mobility, hindering work opportunities, and subjecting sufferers to social stigma and isolation. But the devastation wrought by filarial worms does not stop there. These insidious parasites can also invade the eyes, causing a condition known as river blindness or onchocerciasis. As the worms migrate through the delicate tissues of the eye, they trigger an intense inflammatory response, leading to visual impairment and, in severe cases, irreversible blindness. The toll of river blindness extends far beyond the individual, as the loss of sight can have cascading effects on families, communities, and entire regions, perpetuating a cycle of poverty and marginalization. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.